Germany is arguably one of the richest countries in the world. Their plethora of resources, judiciously managed, as well as their undaunting military prowess, have put them on the pedestal of world power. But it was not always like that. Germany was not as formidable as they have grown to be. In fact, their economy has suffered from acute mismanagement, constant and overwhelming wars, and of course, corrupt practices. How then did they weather the storm? For a country that has undergone an avalanche of small and large-scale insurrections, Germany is thriving evidently well. Why is that so? And how did they become as rich as they are now with one of the most stable economies in the world? That is what we will be looking at in today's video. Watch this video to the end, as we will be giving you inside scoops, facts, and figures on how Germany became rich despite spending whopping sums of money on war and its effect on the nation. But before we begin, thank you for choosing to watch another one of our amazing videos. To enjoy more of these videos, subscribe to Economics Reasons and click the notification bell to get a front row seat. Now, let's begin. Germany is one of the most formidable countries in the world. Located in Europe, this country is noted in history as one of the most fierce and militarily astute countries in the world. It is fundamentally impossible to talk about any of the world wars without making mention of Germany's hand. Its impressive military, with its tactics, arsenal, and discipline, has given this country an edge over most European countries. Now, you would agree with me that wars are expensive. I believe you know that countries, in order to win a war, go the extra mile to make their military front more robust. Germany's threshold from time immemorial has been steeped in what we now know as extreme and recurrent wars. One would think, with the number of wars this country has engaged in, her economy would be bastardized. But not so. Germany has one of the strongest economies in Europe, and I dare say in the world. How is this possible? What is the secret to their robust and rich economy? Well, that is what you will find out soon enough. Germany's rise to global economic power, fondly called by scholars of world economy German economic miracle or Wirtschaftswunder, came about at the end of the Second World War. This war, largely beginning at the whims of Germany's Adolf Hitler, ravaged the country's economy massively, and there was the need to think outside the box to redeem it from total damnation. From infrastructural destruction, the bombing of major cities like Dresden, and the drastic reduction of population, Germany was on the low road. The economic future of this country was like mornings in Antarctica. However, the big break came in 1989 when the Berlin Wall was taken down and Germany was reunited once again. The country grew rapidly and massive, becoming the envy of most of the world. Facts have it that Germany had the third biggest economy in the world, trailing only Japan and the United States in terms of gross domestic product. The Second World War is arguably one of the most destructive wars in world history. Spearheaded by the Holocaust in Germany, this war brought about economic depression, not just in Germany, but also in the world. During the war, Adolf Hitler had organized food supplies, limiting its civilian population to no more than 2,000 calories per day. This food rationing killed more people than bullets did. At the end of the insurrection, the Allies proceeded with this food rationing policy and limited the population to between 1,000 to 1,500 calories per day. Investopedia's comments on Hitler's schemes left the masses in great peril. Price controls on other goods and services led to shortages and a massive black market. Germany's currency, the Reichsmark, had become completely devalued, requiring its populace to resort to bartering for goods and services. These were dark times, and there seemed to be little or no glimmer of hope. Germany was inhabited by 4 nations, and soon it would be divided into halves. The country's eastern part came to be a socialist state, part of the Iron Curtain that was heavily influenced by Soviet policy, while the western section became a democracy. However, the former capital, Berlin, was caught in the middle. Berlin was divided in two, and the parts were eventually separated by the Berlin Wall. With the economic mayhem that was Germany, it was going to take a miracle to liberate them from recession and possible bankruptcy. And that miracle was Walter Eucken. Walter Eucken was the son of a Nobel laureate, which means that his pedigree is immersed in exponential educational growth. He studied economics at the University of Bonn and graduated top of his class. Walter fought in the First World War but decided to go back to the classroom after the war ended. He taught in his alma mater, as well as other schools that needed and recognized his genius. Eucken's strength in economics and his capacity to apply certain otherwise unorthodox methods to salvage Germany's economy gave him an indelible place in Germany's history. Walter gained massive followers at the school he lectured. The school became one of the few places in Germany where those that were against the tyranny of Hitler could exercise their freedom of speech. More importantly, however, the school is where Walter developed his economic theories and philosophy. His economic school of thought is generally regarded as Freiburg School, ordo-liberalism, or the social free market. This idea was born out of free market capitalism theory, where the citizens are allowed to own and control their businesses while, of course, paying taxes to the government. The concept or theory favored a capitalist system with a regulated level of government involvement to make the system balanced, reduce exploitation, and reduce the poverty margin in the society. Walter's theory stood against everything that Hitler stood for, but at the time, it was the best bet for Germany if they desired to salvage their economy and get back on the pedestal they were. Another idea that revamped Germany's economy was Walter's support for an autonomous and very strong central bank. This bank should be outside the jurisdiction and control of the government and be focused on using monetary policies to ensure stable market prices. It should be noted, however, that while this principle may not be new to us, it was relatively new to Germany, which had practiced the system of communism well into both wars. The tides were totally against Germany. From the massive aftermath of the Second World War, the Great Depression that dealt a great blow to them, to hyperinflation and population reduction, there was no way the system was practicable in a country that was on the verge of total insolvency. However, the idea was not entirely accepted, but that does not mean that it did not create waves of new thinking and innovative solutions by other economists and scholars. We can rightly say that Walter Eucken set the pace for Germany's economic miracle. With West Germany taking baby steps to stand again, there was a heavy debate concerning the trajectory of its fiscal policy. The majority in the governing class desired a continuation of communism, with the government maintaining total control of the means of production, distribution, and other economic instruments. However, this would not be the case with Ludwig Erhard, a student and ardent follower of Walter Eucken, who would not allow the system to take effect. His intelligence and prominence grew well into the camp of the American forces that still maintained de facto control of West Germany. Ludwig was a veteran of the First World War and an alumnus of one of the largest business schools in Germany. He was also a very astute researcher, and he worked with an organization that had economics as its core research subject. Erhard's essay, written in defiance of the Nazi rule in 1944 about the financial standing of Germany, gained him international recognition. His essay asserted that because of the financial state of Germany, the Nazis indeed lost the war. He was appointed as the finance minister of Bavaria by the Americans after his essay reached their intelligence forces. Erhard's intelligence and hard work earned him the position of the director of the Economic Council in Western Germany. Erhard's first step to bringing Germany out of its economic mess was to create a new currency that was issued by the Allies. This currency replaced the old and worthless ones. This strategy would curtail the amount of currency accessible to the public by an enormous 93%. It would also lessen the little wealth that German individuals and companies held. Furthermore, a reduction of tax rates was also instituted in an endeavor to motivate spending and investment. The new currency was slated to be launched on June 21, 1948. In an incredibly debatable move, Erhard also decided to eliminate price controls on the same day. His decisions were met with a massive criticism by all who heard him. The criticism got so bad that he was summoned into the office of America's Lucius Clay. Clay expressed his dissatisfaction with the ideas and their rumored aftermath. Erhard, confident of his decision and strategies, smartly responded to the general, "Don't listen to them, General. My advisors tell me the same thing." Erhard went away with his plans and strategies, and surprisingly, they all worked. This was the beginning of Germany's economic revamp, a turnaround that initiated more turnarounds. With the principles, ideas, and systems proposed and implemented by Erhard, West Germany's economy became animated once again. All the industrial sectors began to grow. The bartering system ceased immediately, and the black market ended. Also augmenting Germany's economic revival was the European Recovery Program, better known as the Marshall Plan. This program included giving whopping sums to European countries affected by the war, with Germany getting a huge part of that money. West Germany's expansion continued over the years. By 1958, its industrial output was 4 times greater than it was just 1 decade earlier, while East Germany lagged tremendously because of its backward economic strategies. The bottom line is that the economy of Germany, both as a divided state and a unified state, owes largely to the economic concepts, ideas, and theories of Walter Eucken and Ludwig Erhard. That's all we have for today's video. Please let us know what you think about Germany's economy and the instruments that aided its growth in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to get more details, insights, and facts bordering on history, geography, politics, and economics. See you later!